my fellow ambitious girlies. Welcome back to the Successfully Balanced podcast. I'm your host, Aria, and today we're talking about the secret sauce to working less and achieving more. Now, before we get into this episode, I just want to quickly preface and say that I am not an expert and I'm just sharing what I know. So this is what I've been doing for the past couple of years to be able to grow over 97,000 followers on Instagram in just 10 months. Land a $2,600 brand deal just a few months ago, and start 2 online coaching businesses, and all of that I did without burning out. And I think a huge reason why I didn't burn out is because I got really good at consolidating the work and actually just doing what mattered and the things that enabled me to achieve the most that I could in the shortest amount of time. Now, I just wanted to say as well, something that I have not said in any episode yet, and not really in my content either, but I just wanted to make it really clear what I'm actually doing and why I'm doing it. Because I think that a lot of content creators, and myself included for the past few years, will sort of dilute their intentions and sort of say that they're just doing it to help people, which I think is amazing. But almost all of us are in this game to make money in some stretch of the imagination. But I think the difference between the people who are doing it in a good way and the people who aren't is really what they're going to do with it. And so I just wanted to make it really clear and direct that the reason I'm doing this is because, yes, I do want to make money. I want to be able to move out with my partner and get an apartment and adopt 2 rescue cats. And I want to be able to take care of my mum down the track. I want to be able to retire her and just look after her and make sure that my family is taken care of. And in doing so, the way that I want to do that is by doing something that has a really good and positive impact on the world. And so through my business, Elevate, obviously, yes, I am making money from it, but I am so passionate about the fact that all of the girls who go through there are going to achieve their goals. And that is just the most rewarding thing to me. And I think it makes it feel like all of this work and what I'm getting for it is a fair exchange, because I'm like, I don't want money if I'm not making people's lives better. So I just didn't want to put that out there. And I think that's something that I want to be talking more about on my page, because I think that it really is so important as content creators to be really clear about why you're doing this. Because also, if I wasn't doing this for money, I am working like 50, 60 hour work weeks. That is not ethical. Like that would be such a dishonor to myself to not pay myself for my work and my contribution to the world. And so I just think that that's important to talk about. Anyways, one more thing that I do want to say before we get into the actual source of this episode is that I'm currently working really hard on my speaking ability on camera. So if you notice that I'm speaking slower or maybe it's more awkward, I'm not really sure, but I'm currently taking Jessie Jean's Yap on Camera challenge, which if you haven't enrolled, I think it was like 4,500 people that enrolled, which is crazy, and I'm so proud of her and so happy just for everything she's done. And so that's a skill that I'm really working on at the moment, especially because having ADHD, especially when I'm speaking, I tend to get my brain interjects new thoughts as I'm saying a sentence. And so for the past couple of episodes, I've really noticed that I will start down one sentence and then my brain's like, no, say this sentence instead. And I find it so difficult to just stick with one sentence and actually just see it through to the end and deliver it in a way that actually makes sense and people want to listen to. So if you notice that perhaps I sound more measured, that's because I am, and I'm really trying my best to deliver better content for you guys so that you can understand it better. There was a girl actually that commented a few weeks ago and said that she liked that I talk fast because she also has ADHD and it keeps her entertained. I feel like though there is probably the majority of people that prefer having a slower measured pace. So if that's you, if you do prefer it fast, please turn up the speed and listen to it faster. But I am just trying to work on my communication skills so that I can get my message across more easily. And now my hair is just not hairing. And then I suppose the flip side of that, which I didn't actually really introduce this, but at the start of every episode, I talk about something I've been doing to work towards my goals, which is working on my speaking, and also something that I've been doing to have more balance in my life, which this week, I will say this week has been very hardworking, and I have not had anywhere near as much rest as in previous weeks, which I think is ironic given the title of this episode. But because I launched my business Elevate literally on last Monday, I have been working quite a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are definitely phases in your life where you'll be working hard. And it sort of reminds me of, if you guys have seen Grace Beverly's podcast, Working Hard or Hardly Working Hard. Anyways, the Working Hard podcast, where she asks her guests, have you been working hard or are you hardly working? At this point in time, it is definitely the working hard. There is nothing wrong with that. That being said, The strategies that I share in this episode here, I think, have really helped me to actually not overwork myself. And yes, be working hard, but not to the point of burnout, and still being able to achieve a lot. Because, for example, I did not actually expect anyone to join Elevate for at least the first week of it launching. We've already had people joining. I did not expect that at all. I saw the names pop up on my phone on my notification screen. I was like, oh my goodness, people are actually joining already. So I am so surprised, but just so grateful and like really happy with how it's turned out so far. And also, I'll probably be mentioning it later in this episode, but if you do want to join, the link will be in the description, and I would love to see you in there because I really just want to see you succeed. Okay, that is enough of me yapping. Let's get into the actual content. So the first thing that I want to talk about whenever it comes to working less and achieving more, the biggest principle that I have taught so many times is the Pareto principle. If you haven't heard of this, basically it is the theory that 80% of results are determined by just 20% of actions, and 20% of results are determined by about 80% of your actions. Or for example, if you're in business, 80% of your revenue is going to come from just 20% of your clients, or 80% of your fitness results are going to come from just 20% of your dietary changes. So essentially what I'm trying to say here is that we might be overloading our plates with a lot of different tasks and actions and projects, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the minority of those tasks and actions that actually contribute to the majority of our results. And in terms of working less to achieve more, and the secret sauce behind that, it is to find the minority, that small 20%, and knuckle down on it and really just focus on those things. Because we do a lot of tasks to just make us feel productive. And I have been there myself a few years ago. I would do every possible thing I could, especially when I was in high school. I was doing every possible study method out there. And I didn't realize that the majority of my marks are coming from just two strategies. And so I think that's the same in pretty much any industry, like in content creation or in personal branding or in building a business. Most of what you do is going to be, I don't want to say redundant, but it's definitely not as important as the 20% of actions that contribute to the 80% of results. So essentially, if you focus on just the minority of actions that create the majority of results, you can essentially cut out up to half or more of your work. I mean, yes, of course, there are the sort of maintenance tasks, which we'll talk about more in the end of this episode, but there are obviously the tasks that you just sort of need to do, like the admin, whatever. They're not really growing, they're not really leading to results, but where you can, focusing on those tasks that really bring in, whether that's more revenue, more clients, more results in any sense, focusing on those and actually just not worrying about all the redundant activities. For example, if I was to try and get a new client right now, I could DM all my followers, which would be, I just think that's not nice, and as a follower, I would not want that message, but I could do that, hypothetically. I could post in my story, I could post a reel, I could send emails out, I could whatever. But from past results, I know that the most needle moving activities are the ones where I have posted in my story and invited conversation and then chatted to a potential lead, and then they've turned into a client. So yes, I could send the email as well. Yes, I could post 3 reels about it. I could do so much more, but I know that the thing that is really going to get me, or most likely to get me a client, is posting on my story and talking to them in my DMs. Yes, I could do all the extra action. That would be the 80% of actions that lead to 20% of the results. Because yes, I could get a client from that, but I'm a lot more likely to get a client from posting on my story and talking in the conversation. I feel like I've said that so many times now, but you get what I'm saying. And really the way to find those 20% of actions, because you're probably wondering, like, how do I actually know what those actions are, is to look at your things like analytics and trace back from your results where the result came from. So for example, what I do when I'm planning my content is I will look at, if I'm aiming for reach and followers, I will look at in my creator dashboard, I'll have a look at the analytics and I'll have a look at new followers and like where they came from. And I'm like, okay, well, which posts were most likely to attract followers? And then from there, I can be like, okay, well, this format, and this format worked really well to get followers. So I'm going to knuckle down on that rather than doing 50 posts a week and doing 48 of them that are completely get 1 follower per post, when there could be 2 posts that get me 100 followers each. You know what I'm saying? And in a similar way, leads, like if I look at how many comments in terms of like ManyChat comments were on each post, I can narrow it down to like, okay, which type of posts got the most leads from it and knuckle down on those ones rather than just posting a bunch of random stuff and not really understanding what the result of those things are. Does that make sense? Yes, this will take practice and it will take time to get good at, but ultimately what you want to be doing is just also being aware of the things that you tend to do which actually don't matter. For example, something that I used to really get in the trap of is constantly organizing and reorganizing and replanning. That is a big one, I think, especially for my ambitious girls listening to this, which by the way, oh my goodness, I didn't even say, if you are new to this podcast and you're an ambitious girl, welcome. I didn't even say welcome. Wow, okay. Hello and welcome. This podcast is for the ambitious girls who know deep down that they are made for more and are craving that life where they are in control of it, where business, the personal brand, the financial freedom, the ability to travel and work from anywhere in the world. If that is you, welcome to this podcast. I am so excited to have you here. This is so weird that I'm saying this in the middle of the episode, but if you enjoy it, please give it a rating on Spotify or subscribe and like on YouTube. It means the world to me. And I feel so weird talking about this in the middle of the episode, but anyways, welcome. I just want to say welcome. But what I was saying is that I think, especially as ambitious girls, we tend to plan over and over and actually not do the plan. So we'll plan over and over, and because we are writing something down and we're planning things, we feel productive. But the feeling productive does not create results. It is in the 80% of work that leads to like nil results, because planning doesn't really do anything but give you the guardrails to do the actual actions themselves. And I talk about this in my course, The Momentum Method, where basically there's a difference between soft action and hard action. And this goes really well hand in hand with the Pareto principle, because basically the soft action is all the things that are around the hard action. So soft action is things like looking on Lululemon for new activewear, whereas the hard action would be actually going to the gym and putting in the reps. And so what a lot of us fall into the trap of is doing the soft action and constantly like preparing ourselves, but never actually doing the hard action, which is actually making it happen. And so that's another thing to look out for, is that if you are constantly doing the quote unquote feeling productive things, those are most likely going to be the things that are in the 80% of actions that lead to 20% results, and ultimately we don't really need to do them anywhere near as much as we think we do. Okay, that is it for the Pareto principle part. The next part I want to talk about, which I feel like is just so much fun to talk about, is literally just the fact that the more fun you have, the more you will receive. I first want to talk about the sort of, not neuroscience, but the physiology of this, and I talk about this in some of the past few episodes. Basically, your nervous system wants to keep you safe. Your nervous system is trying to keep you exactly as you are. And anything that is out of your comfort zone, such as getting more clients, getting more followers, putting yourself out there, speaking on camera, all of those things can heighten your anxiety and make you feel more activated and sort of get your nervous system to clench up and try and protect you, because those things are scary, they're uncertain. And a way that we can overcome that is through having fun. Because unless you're on a roller coaster, because that's different, but other than that, how are you supposed to feel scared if you're having fun? You know what I'm saying? If you're having fun and you're just putting yourself out there for the sake of enjoyment, you have no competition. No one can beat someone that's just having fun. Like how are you supposed to outrun them? And so I really think that the more fun you have, the more you receive. And there are so many little intricacies to that. Like, for example, especially if you're a content creator or you're anyone where your words have a direct impact on how you are received as a business or as a personal brand, people can feel your energy. And you can probably feel right now that maybe I feel a little bit uptight because I'm trying to practice my speaking and it's going to take me a little moment to learn how to speak properly. Or maybe you can feel that I am kind of calm. I feel reasonably calm, but I am definitely focusing more on my speaking right now. The chances are you can probably feel that. And so if you are listening to someone's content and they are just having fun, you are going to feel like you are having fun and you will want to be in their world, because you know that when you are in their world, you have fun and you enjoy yourself. And so this goes especially for content creators, but honestly anyone. People can feel your energy. And so the higher your energy and the more fun you're having, but in a still grounded and calm way, the more you will receive. And the loveliest part about that is that when you're having fun with your work, the hard work feels nowhere near as hard and grueling. And it kind of feels like you're just having fun, like you're literally just messing around. And I think especially because I've been working on my business now and I love it so much. Like, it has been an intense work week, but I have still just loved it so much. And yeah, it just has been amazing and I've really just been having fun. So even though it has been a lot of work, I'm just having fun. I remember listening to a podcast by Lo, I don't know her last name, but it's Leap with Lo, I think is her podcast. She's amazing, definitely go listen, absolutely beautiful. She made a podcast episode which was literally called The More Fun I Have, The More I Receive. And I think it was such a beautiful, really artistic kind of look at it, where she basically was saying that in past launches, when she launched a course or a program or whatever, she would tend to do all those actions, like DM every single person on the waitlist and do all these actions to make sure that her message landed. I have just realized that my microphone was not actually plugged in, so I'm speaking completely randomly into this microphone and it's not actually working. So I'm really hoping that the audio isn't too bad for you guys. It's literally just coming through my camera. I'm so sorry if the audio of this has been absolutely terrible and abysmal. The next episode I make will be better. So sorry, that's not good. Anyways, I really don't want to film the whole thing again because I've been recording for like half an hour now and I don't want to have to do that again. So I'm sorry if the audio is subpar. Thankfully, it's not raining or anything, so there shouldn't be too much background noise, but let's just continue and hope for the best when I edit. Anyways, as I was saying, so Lo was saying in her podcast that essentially she used to have all these anxious feelings attached to her launches, and she would always put in so much effort to make things happen and really just grind and like make sure things worked. And she said that with her most recent launch, she literally just had fun with it. She didn't even check her standstill. She just put the emails out, wrote them as she felt like she was feeling, and put them out there into the world. And she said that she's made $40,000 from it, like at least, like from this one launch. That's crazy. And she can say like, it's because I've been having fun and I've literally just been enjoying myself, and people can feel that energy. As that's so important. The last one I want to talk about, and this is more in the sense of achieving more rather than working less, although it technically may feel like working less. But the point that I want to say is that you want to always be expanding and never be in maintenance mode. Because I think that what a lot of us fall into the trap of is getting into a rhythm, which can be good, especially if you're working for yourself. It's great to have that rhythm to kind of understand what you're doing each day. But I want to make the case, and I'm leaning more into this at the moment, is actually just branching out and looking for new opportunities. Because as I said before, like your nervous system is trying to keep you stuck. And so the more that you branch out and look for new opportunities, the more you're going to accelerate. And also the more that your achievements are going to be visible. For example, the visibility that I've gotten from my work through, other than through social media, has been through being featured in magazine articles, like for my university, and I can't remember what the other one was called. I think it was like a local magazine one, and winning awards. Like I won a Women in Innovation Award, and recently was a finalist for the 7 News Awards. Both of those things, yes, obviously it took me a lot of effort to build the business that got featured, but to actually get featured wasn't that much effort. And I know that sounds sort of a bit maybe entitled, but all I had to really do was have the connections, or not in terms of the awards, that is more of a judging criteria, but in terms of getting featured in magazines, that was through connections. And it doesn't take that much effort to speak to someone and say like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I think that it could be helpful to your audience perhaps. And so I think that, you know, maybe that 10-minute conversation, the rest of that work, and I know this sounds kind of weird, but the rest of that work gets carried by the journalist or whoever is sort of putting you out there. And so I think that a lot of the time it just takes sending that cold email or talking, you know, meeting up for that coffee chat to get that recognition. And yes, recognition is important. It's not really like a vanity thing. It really does accelerate your work and gives you more credibility especially when you're young. Like I'm quite young, so having those kind of things behind me really does help more than people would expect. And so I really think that in terms of that like achievement, that, you know, the cold hard labels, those kind of things actually don't take as much effort as people think. So what I want to say with that essentially is just to constantly look for ways to expand and never be in maintenance mode. Like every single week, send out a cold email to someone who could potentially feature your work or could potentially get you in contact with someone who can get you further. It does not take as much effort as you think. It literally could take 5 to 10 minutes a week, and that's it. And it would get you so much further. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really hope that the audio was bearable. I'm sorry, it's going to be not as good in comparison to the other episodes, but I hope you learned something. If you did, I would love if you could leave a comment down below and tell me what you found most helpful and something that you are actually going to apply in your life, because I think the biggest thing is that you don't just want to listen to these episodes and just kind of be like, oh yeah, cool, I know something now. You actually want to apply it. And if you are ready to invest time, money, and effort into your growth and you really want to go above and beyond, I strongly recommend joining Elevate. It is literally, I am so proud of it, and I'm so in love with this business. I would literally pay 10 times the price to get in there, because I have put in there every single thing that I've learned over the past like 5 years of content creation and just kind of growing as a human, and all the things that I believe have led me to where I am today and to be, you know, quote unquote successful at quite a young age. It's only tier 1 that's launched at the moment, but tier 1 is essentially all these soft skills, like the confidence, the self-belief, the discipline that you need to be able to hold what I will be teaching in tier 2, which will be more content creation, personal branding, sort of the psychology of connecting with humans. And that's something I'm going to talk about more, because I'm going to actually record a double episode this week. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to put it as an episode or just a YouTube video. You'll see, maybe it'll come out, maybe it won't, but about content creation and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're interested, the link is in the description and I would love to have you in there. And if you want to know a bit more about it, you can schedule a call with a member of the team and we can just chat to you and just see if it's a good fit for you. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I hope you have the most amazing week. I'm wishing you all the best. I'm wishing you every single success. And I believe in you. Just know that even if you don't believe in yourself right now, I believe in you. I know you can do it. Whatever it is that you have your mindset to, you can do it. All right, bye for now.